Welcome back to the McCann Dogs podcast. This is episode 38. I am joined, as I always am every week, with my co-host, instructor Shannon Viljasso. And welcome. Thanks for joining us, Shannon.
Thanks, Ken. Hi, everybody.
Now, this week, I want to talk a little bit about living with senior dogs. You know, as Deegan, my black lab, gets older, I need to have some special considerations for her. We've been through the old dog scenario all too many times, and there are some things that you can do to make your old dog's life just a little bit safer. You can help your older dogs live, a little bit easier, and that's ultimately what we want to do. You know, these dogs are a lifetime investment for them, and we want to make sure that those senior years, those winter years, are as good as they can be. And Instructor Shannon has written a blog post on our mccandogs.com website that's really, really helpful, and we're going to talk about that today. I'm Ken Steep, and welcome back to McCann Dogs. Now, Shannon, I can relate to everything in this article with Deegan. She's 14 now. She's some of the signs and symptoms that we talk about in this article, I'm starting to see in her, and I mean, it's always tough as we see them age. I like to think about her as the 4, 5, 6-year-old dog that's just full of energy and running about. But eventually they're going to get older, and we need to do a few things to make their lives a little bit easier. Now, what's your last old dog experience? You know, was there a dog that really impacted you as an old dog?
Yeah, well, that would be my Jaden, my first toller. He was just shy of 14. I might get all teary and blubbery talking about Jaden and his old age. He was just shy of 14 when I lost him, and he was a very special dog. His whole life. I actually went back to his lines to try to find something similar. I went all the way to BC to pick up Ned. Ned is related to my first toller, Jaden. So that's how special Jaden is. I'm going to stop talking about him because I'll get all blubbery and teary. But
yeah,
that transition into senior dog, it happens without us even realizing it. And with my current household, Reggie is 10 and a half now. And he has no idea that he is over 10 years old, but I am very aware of it. And I need to make sure that he is safe and has the best possible quality of life. So I was starting to make some changes in my house. You know, I've got some slippery floors. I wanted to make sure that he wasn't losing traction on those, that they weren't causing him any trouble. So I started thinking about all the different things that I need to adjust with him, or that I've needed to adjust with him over the last few years as well, to make sure his transition into that senior stage of life is seamless and really, really nice for all of us.
Yeah, I think people often overlook how important, setting up your house can be, especially laminate floors, wood floors, tile floors are really popular right now. Carpet isn't in as it once was. So providing... Yeah, especially for dog people. Absolutely. So, providing your dog with a little extra traction can be really, really helpful as your dogs get older. They don't maintain that same gait that they once did. So tell us a little bit, what are some tricks for maintaining your dog's ability to move around the house with traction?
Yeah. So for first off, we want to make sure that the areas that our dogs frequent have good traction. And that might not be possible with whatever flooring surface that you've got going on. You know, I've got a lot of laminate, I've got some ceramic tile. I have very little carpet in my house, and that makes a big difference with my dogs when they're moving around. With the young guys, they can take it a little bit easier than with the old guys, where one slip could possibly pull a muscle or do some damage. So I was looking for solutions, and I found some really, really great ideas for solutions. You know, the obvious ones would be throw rugs, runners on stairs or slippery surfaces. But I also thought this was a brilliant solution. I found somebody suggested yoga mats, and I thought that is absolutely a great solution. My rubber yoga mat is perfect for traction. There's no way it will ever slip on my laminate flooring. And it's a great way of helping my dog to get up. Now, there's all sorts of things that you can get as far as different traction things. you can also get, I tried these with Reggie when he had an injury last year. They're toe grips, and they're just little rubber pieces that fit onto the dog's toenail. And they actually were really, really helpful in most slippery surfaces to help him move around and have good grip. So I've put a link to those in the blog post. We're not being compensated by them in any way, but I did find it to be a very helpful product for him when he was recovering for an injury. So hopefully it'll be helpful for someone else with an older dog that is trying to deal with the same things. Now, along those same lines, with dealing with the dog's actual toes, you can keep your dog's nails very short, and that will help them with traction as well. If when they're walking, if they're sliding around on their nails, it's really hard for them to get traction. The way you get your dog's nails short is not by cutting more off, it's by cutting more frequently. So with Reggie, especially because he's my old guy, I actually cut his nails twice a week, and I'm just shaving little bits off. But the more you cut them, the more the quick is going to recede, and the shorter you're going to be able to get those nails. So I shave tiny little bits off twice a week, and those nails stay nice and short to the point where when he's standing completely on the pads of his feet. His toenails are barely touching the ground, so that there's not that slippage as he's trying to move around the house. He's actually using the pads of his feet, which is where he's going to get the best traction. It's also going to be really, really good for foot health. The longer your dog's toenails are, the harder it is for them to walk properly, and it actually over time will throw their toes way out of alignment. So please make sure that you are very conscious, especially with those old dogs, very conscious of good nail grooming to make sure that they've got the best possible traction and the best possible health for their feet.
Yeah, when you mentioned those toe grips, I mean, it sounds like a completely crazy idea to me. I haven't checked them out, but I know that you did talk about them a little bit earlier. And I'll include a link in the show notes below if you're watching this on our YouTube podcast channel. Then I'll include a link in the description below to those toe grips so that you at home can check them out as well. But it sounds like they were, a great option if you don't have the opportunity to cover all of your floors.
Absolutely. I was really impressed with how well they worked. I was very skeptical initially, but they worked
Did
great.
did they require much training to get him accustomed to them, or was it something that he settled into quickly?
No, he didn't even seem to notice them. So when I first initially put them on, I was nervous that they were going to pop right off. But as long as you size them properly, they stayed on beautifully. I had them on for probably about 3 weeks while he was recovering.
Wow.
And then I was able to take them off, no problem. And I've still got them at home. I can use them again. I can actually reapply them if I need to. So they are reusable. They do wear out over time. So you might have to replace them if you're using them a lot, but they were really helpful. So it
Oh,
was
that's
worth
very
it to me.
cool. Yeah, really
Mhm.
interesting. Now, as our dogs age, they aren't able to thermoregulate. They aren't able to stay warm or stay cool like they once did. But, oftentimes with a lot of that muscle loss in living in Canada, our dogs can get cold really quickly, especially as they get older. So talk about
Yeah.
some of the options you have for keeping your dog a little bit warmer, your senior dog a little bit warmer in those cooler months.
For sure. So, especially through the winter months, that bone chilling cold can be really tough on our old guys. And this is something that I find with myself because I have tollers. Tollers are bred for retrieving work in icy, icy water. They are very efficient at keeping their body warmth. However, as they get older, it's still something that I need to pay attention to. And that was sort of, I had to reprogram my brain a little bit for that because I'm so used to not being concerned about my dogs ever getting cold because they never seem to. They have very thick coats, very thick undercoats. So this was something that I had to be really conscious of. And I had started putting clothing on my older tollers before. And I like to make sure that, especially in those winter months where the snow and the ice is really, really cold, they've got a non slip boot when we're going out for walks. And that's especially important that they're non slip because the ice and whatnot can do the same sort of damage that slippery floors in your house can do. So, having that sort of rubberized boot or something that's going to help your dog with traction is not only going to help keep their feet nice and warm, but it's also going to help them from slipping. Using coats or snoods or anything that's going to keep your dog nice and contained and nice and warm. And also be ready to make the decision that if it's a really cold day, don't walk the dog. They don't need to go out for a walk if it's minus 13 or minus 20. You can do all sorts of brain games with them in the house. Let them out for a quick pee in the yard, of course, but use some mental stimulation work. You can do some physical stimulation work in the house too if you've got the space, but it certainly will not be the end of the world if you don't walk them on those days where it is so cold. So use your good judgment. Know that they're going to feel the cold differently once their muscle mass is shrinking and their circulation has changed over time. You want to make sure that you're just very aware, very cognizant of the fact that they might get too chilly out there. So,
Yeah, I want to circle us back around just for a moment. You mentioned a snood. I don't know if I'm not sure what I know what
did
that
I say
is.
that wrong?
What is, I don't know. What is a snood?
It's like a scarf that
Okay.
you see on whippets and
Oh,
greyhounds and
okay.
things like
Yeah.
that to
Sure.
keep
Yeah.
everything contained.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a snoot. I might
Yeah.
have called it the wrong thing. That
I don't know.
happens.
It sounded interesting, and I had to ask about it because I had never heard that word before. But um, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. I know with Deegan, her feet get cold really quickly. So even if we go out for her to go pee or whatever, I'll see her. She's also got the webbed toes. So for those of you who have dogs with webbed toes, you need to be really careful about them picking up some of the de-icing methods, the salts and things, as well as getting ice packed in between their toes. It can be really uncomfortable for them. So it's really important that after you bring them in when it's really cold that you take a quick look at those feet, because I know Shannon mentioned using boots, maybe a good idea. And even if you think that you're not sure the boots are right for your dog, I think it's a great way to keep their paws safe, and that's really important. Now, getting back inside the house, not just talking about the cold weather, what are some of the things special considerations that you want to make for your senior dog? What are some things that you can do to make their lives just a little bit easier?
Yeah. So around feeding times, I would make sure that your bowls are raised with senior dogs. It's always a good idea to have with any dog so that they're not having to suck their food in from the ground. If you have it raised a little bit, it's a nicer way for them to eat. You're going to even though they're still going to eat very quickly, you're probably going to have less issues with the digestive process, and especially if you're feeding a dry kibble, we want to make sure that they're taking a little bit more time to swallow, and if they're inhaling it and sucking it up, it can get dry and get stuck. But with those older dogs especially, that can be really taxing on them if they've got some arthritis or if they're a little bit stiff or sore. Having to lean all the way down to the ground in order to get their food can be tough on them. So raise up their food bowls. That'll really make a good difference for them. Anywhere around your house where your dog frequents, look at it and see how you can make it easier for that old dog. So, for example, if your dog has an absolute favorite spot on the couch, you might put some sort of a stair system or a ramp system so that they can get up and down there without the huge impact of jumping off the couch or without having to struggle to try to get on the couch as well. Up at beds, things like that. If you've got stairs coming out of your house, a ramp can be a really helpful thing to keep your dog from having to navigate those stairs. A lot of the times it's the back ends that are weak. So stairs force them to really push all their weight onto their rear end, and that having to use that extra muscle mass in their rear end to get up those stairs can be tricky for some of the old guys. So having a ramp will just help make that a little bit easier. And as gradual a ramp as you can make it, of course, is going to be your best bet. If you don't want to build something, you can always buy something. So there's all sorts of ramps that are extendable. My very good friend has one that extends into 3 pieces and collapses to be maybe, 2.5, 3 feet, tucks into a little case, and she stores that in her SUV so that anytime she's getting her dogs in or out of the truck, she can just pull out that ramp easily. It doesn't take up much space in the car, and she can help her dogs to get in and out without that impact and without them having to struggle on things.
Yeah, this is something we're actually Kale and I are talking about right now for Deacon to make life a little bit easier for her. We have stairs that go out to their area, and putting a ramp there. And one of the challenges I find is like how much of the stair do you cover with ramp, and how much of the stair do you leave for the other dogs as well as the humans. So it's just something that and I think I'm going to build them, but I have seen all sorts of great ramp options out there, as well as little shorter stair options, things for like your bed, for example, just a longer tread with a shorter kick plate like lift.
Mhm.
And I mean, it seems like a great option. It allows your dog to get up and down a little bit more easily without those great big, steps that they've got to take. So
Definitely. And
these
it
are
allows
things.
them to, oh, sorry. I was just going to say it allows them to continue to enjoy the things that they have enjoyed all their life. So rather than now not being able to get on the couch because I'm too old to jump up there, I can still get up on the couch and lie down and enjoy my favorite spot in the room, for example. So that's really helpful for an old dog.
Yeah, and at that age, you want to hang out with them. You want to be especially aware of those moments that you get to hang out with them on the couch. For example, you want to really
Yeah.
spend that extra time enjoying them, just being with you. So I think that's a nice thing to do for your dog if it means that they get to snuggle with you on the couch as you watch Netflix or whatever. Now, there's some changes, physiological, anatomical. There are some changes that happen to your dog as they get older, as well as just some functional changes that you might notice with your dog. So, what are some of the things that you want to really keep an eye on for those senior dogs, Shannon?
Yeah, any changes in their activity level, any changes in their gaiting. And I suggested in the article, I like to do this with my own dogs. On their birthday, I will take new pictures. We actually just recorded a podcast about Lost Dog Emergency Plan. I'll take new pictures in the event that I need identifying pictures for a poster. Hopefully, I never do, but I like to have fresh ones on hand at the ready. And I will also make sure that I do a little bit of video recording of their gait, both front, back, and side gaits. And that way, if I start to think, you know what, I don't think my dog is extending as much as he used to. I wonder if he's sore in the back end. I'm not relying on the visual information I see from day to day. I can go back up to a year and look at the video of him gaiting last year, look at the video of him gaiting now, and I can compare those things, and I can know with a certain degree of certainty that he hasn't really changed much physically in his movement in that year. So that video, we all have the capability, or most of us have the capability now, of very easily getting video on our phone. So take a moment, do your video work on their birthday so that you don't forget, and that way you've got a basis for comparison. With my old guys especially, I spend a lot more time with grooming. I'm much slower with the grooming effort. I make sure that it's not going to hurt them at all. I don't want to be really running along them quickly with a brush if they're potentially a little bit sore that day. So I'll take my time and I'll make sure that I really run my hands over every part of their body. And what I'm feeling for is changes. I'm feeling for muscle twitching, I'm feeling for heat, and I'm feeling for any sort of lumps and bumps that I might find with my dog. There's a lot of little lumps and things that older dogs will get. Sebaceous cysts are really benign. They're nothing that is going to be concerning, but they look suspiciously like other type of lumps that might be concerning. So keep an eye on things. You don't necessarily have to rush right into the vet unless it really is an alarming thing that you're seeing, but keep an eye on it. Make a list of things to ask your vet at your next wellness exam and bring it up. Potentially if they just have a sebaceous cyst that just needs to be squeezed by the vet, it's not going to be a big deal, but at least you have still got that top of mind, and you're able to ask your vet about it the next time you're in for your exams.
Yeah, another thing that I'm starting to notice specifically with Deegan is a little bit of vision issues. She's starting to get a little bit of glaucoma. There's some cloudiness in her eye, so navigating the world is just a little bit more challenging. But I do need to keep an eye on it, and if it gets to a point where she is either really worried about moving around or she's unable to, move around the world, then I need to, to really either get help for her or make some really tough decisions, because it's important that she's able to thrive. Whether she's 14 or 4, it doesn't really matter. Want to make sure that she's
Yeah.
living a good life.
Yeah, there's some really good tips for dogs that are losing their vision. And actually, I didn't even think of this when I was writing the article, but I'm going to go back and put it in the article. That in those years leading up to a potential complete loss of vision, or in those months, put some essential oil smells around your house. So, for example, at the top or the bottom of the stairs, you might put just a tiny little drop of wintergreen or something like that, so that the dog starts to familiarize itself with the association of getting to the top of the stairs and having that smell. So that if they do happen to have a complete failure in their eyesight, or it's so bad that they can't see where that transition is, they've got that other sense to help guide them. And of course, dog's sense of smell is so amazing that they will create that association very quickly. I smell wintergreen. I know the stairs are there. I need to be careful, and hopefully, you prevent them from slamming into a piece of furniture or potentially falling down the stairs. So.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. I love that one. Now, a wellness exam done by your veterinarian can be really, really great at discovering issues before they become something dangerous. So, talk a little bit about making sure that you're up to date with your vet checkups.
Definitely. So when my dogs hit the senior status at 7 years of age, I will make sure that I do their first geriatric blood panel, so that I've got all of the details that I need in that panel. I know that everything at that point hopefully is in line. All of the values fall where they need to fall. But it also gives me a great baseline. So usually with my dogs, I will do a 7 year. And then if there's no problem, I might extend it out and do a 10 year. But after 10, I'll do them every single year. And that just gives me information. I want to know that there's no problem with the functioning of the kidneys and the liver and all the vital parts of my dog. I want to be able to catch things early. So if, for example, I do a wellness exam at 10 years of age and I've got that baseline and that information and I know where my dog was at 10, and then at 11 I do another one and I can see that there's values that have changed a little bit. It's normal to have a little bit of fluctuation, but if you've got something that is consistently changing every time you do that wellness exam, and again, I do them every year after they turn 10, I can see that. That is great information for me to have and for me to know moving forward. And I can take necessary steps early if there's something that I can do to help prevent, a kidney problem from progressing. If there's a change in diet I can make or something of that nature, I've got that information at the ready and I can make good decisions for my dog's continued health based on that information. So it really is worthwhile to spend a little bit of money, do the blood work, know what's going on in your dog's system, and then move forward from there.
It's really amazing the change that change in diet can make, or the addition of a supplement can make in a dog's overall well-being. It's quite remarkable. I know we add some supplements to the competition dog's food, but we also add some different supplements to our senior dog's food, and it allows them to be maybe a little more active, or have a little bit more consistent GI tract or something like that, and it just it helps them to get out and do more with our other dogs.
Definitely.
Now, whether a dog is 10 weeks old or 10 years old, we have them. We've helped train them. We've helped them to become well-behaved four-legged family members. And one of the ways that we do that is our online training program, the My Dog Can program. And Shannon, can you just talk to us briefly about what the My Dog Can program is? And I mean, as briefly as we can talk about it, because I know we get excited about
As
it.
briefly as possible. My Dog Ken is going to make your dog a well-behaved family member. That's the briefest part. So My Dog Ken is our grade 1 program. It's teaching the dogs all of the basic skills they need to be an enjoyable, wonderful, well-behaved, and safe family member. So safety, top of the list, is teaching your dog to come when they're called, regardless of what is going on out there. And, we've been here since 1982. We have spent a lot of years refining our skills and refining how we teach dogs to do things. And we have got a recall system that will teach your dog a reliable recall very, very quickly. And we will give you all the tools you need to proof through and make sure that your dog will then be reliable around any distractions and in any environment. If you put in the work, you can absolutely have an amazing recall with your dogs. We will teach them to walk nicely on leash so that you can enjoy your walks. And we also teach sit and down stays. There's all sorts of other things that happen in the program as well. We teach things like drop it. We teach dogs how to play appropriately with us, with and without toys, all sorts of things that come up in day-to-day life. We want to make sure that our dogs are safe. If we drop a pill on the kitchen floor, we want to be able to stop them from thinking it's a treat and scooping it up. Things like that are so, so important. The support with My Dog Ken is what really makes it an amazing program. We, for years, we didn't want to create a video system for teaching our method because we knew that what was really important was the support that comes along with any program. and being able to be there and give tips and give feedback and help people through things. So it took us a long time to come up with this program and decide how we were going to do things, because the support was such an important element for us. So in that support, you can call us, you can email us. We have professional dog trainers answering the phone in the office. Everybody that works here is a professional dog trainer. They will be able to support you over the phone. You can join us in the Facebook group. You can send us video and we'll send you back feedback. There's so many options for support. And the really nice thing about the program is we get to spend lots of time with our students. So we actually get to teach them about how to become dog trainers and how their dogs think. And then they, moving forward, understand dog behavior more. They understand how to put training programs into place for themselves. It's so much more than just teaching your dog those three main skills. There's a lot of really great stuff to it. You can try it free. Check out the first lesson free at mccandogs.com, and you can start well on your way to teaching your dog those three skills with just that first free lesson. So give it a shot.
Now, I know as a student, when I came to McCann Professional Dog Trainers, I was pretty sure that Deegan was too stubborn for me to teach her anything. But using the McCann method, I literally saw a change in her in 3 weeks. Like, she started to listen. Yeah, she was just so, essentially what we're doing is teaching our students how to be great dog trainers. And, in my class, I was taught how to deal with some of her challenges, how to deal with some of that stubbornness. And it was really, really great. I fell in love with dog training after that. I saw the impact it could have. Now that we can share that with the online community, we can literally communicate with people all over the world and help them to have a dog who listens, have a dog who comes first time every time using the McCann method. I'm so proud of that, and I just can't wait to share it with the world. So, but Shannon, I want to thank you for joining us today. If you guys are new to the podcast and you want to check out the My Dog Can program, I'll drop a link in the show notes below. If you're on YouTube, I'll drop it in the description below. But thank you for sharing your insight with us on how to create a better life for your senior dog, Shannon.
Absolutely, my pleasure. It's a great topic to talk about because those old dogs are so special.
Absolutely.
They're like fine wine. They just get better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They really do hold a special place in our hearts. And I want to thank you guys for joining us here on the podcast. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every single week to help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. And Shannon, I want to thank you again for joining us. I'm really looking forward to see what we're going to talk about next week. I love sitting down and having these dog training chats, and I hope our audience enjoys them as well. And on that note, I'm Ken. Happy training. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.